Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new episode of our series In Pursuit of the Theory of Knowledge, where we delve into Schopenhauer's epistemology and his principle of sufficient reason. In today's episode, we will look into a very unique history of Schopenhauer's dissertation and introduce our original copy as a guiding text for our series. Our copy we recently acquired from Germany was published in 1864 and was produced by Julius Frauenstedt, Schopenhauer's most loyal follower and propagator of his philosophy. He was the first to publish and edit Schopenhauer's collected works after his death in 1860. Our copy of the book is part of this legacy. Arthur Schopenhauer was born on February 22, 1788 in Gdańsk or Danzig to a relatively wealthy German family. Early in life, he traveled extensively throughout Europe, as he initially sought to follow in his father's footsteps as a merchant. Despite family expectations, Schopenhauer decided to pursue a career as a scholar. On October 9, 1809, Arthur Schopenhauer, then 21 years old, began his university career as a student of medicine at the University of Göttingen. He studied a wide range of subjects, including natural history, biology, mineralogy, botany, physics, astronomy, chemistry, mathematics, physiology, anatomy, but also world history, the history of Middle Ages with a focus on the Crusades, and finally, philosophy, metaphysics, and logic. Years later, in a letter to a friend, Schopenhauer reflected on the moment that sparked his interest in philosophy. During his second semester of studies at Göttingen, he was awakened to the philosophy through the lectures of Gottlob Ernst Schulze, German philosopher. Schulze's advice to focus exclusively on Plato and Immanuel Kant, and only after mastering these look at works of Aristotle and Spinoza, had a significant impact on Schopenhauer's future studies. As he later wrote, "I have done very well by following this advice." After completing 4 semesters at Göttingen, he transferred to the newly established University of Berlin, following the German intellectual superstar of the time, philosopher Johann Gottlieb Fichte. He was a German philosopher that attempted to develop his own unified system based on the teachings of Immanuel Kant and his transcendental idealism. Schopenhauer would spend 3 more semesters at Berlin University, and although the study of philosophy was his primary concern, he soon became disillusioned with philosophy professors, whom he accused of spinning the concepts out of thin air and trying to reconcile Immanuel Kant's metaphysics with Christian theology, which he considered intellectually sacrilegious and an affront to the development of post-Kantian philosophy. Despite this regrettable development in the area of philosophical speculation, Schopenhauer would continue with his rigorous studies aimed at expanding his scientific education, studying experimental chemistry under Martin Heinrich Klaproth, who is credited with the discovery of the elements zirconium and uranium. He would also continue the study of physics, including magnetism, electricity, and astronomy. Schopenhauer would also attend Friedrich Christian Rosenthal's lectures on the anatomy of the human brain, which were delivered in the Anatomy Theater. Schopenhauer would subsequently make the following observation: philosophy has much in common with the anatomy of the brain. False philosophy and false brain anatomy cut apart and separate what belongs together as one and as a whole, while combining in the severed pieces elements that are foreign to one another. True philosophy and true brain anatomy, on the other hand, properly dissect everything, identify and preserve as one what is indeed one, and separate heterogeneous parts. For now, remember, Schopenhauer was no idle dreamer of abstract ideas, he was a man of science. At Berlin, he attended more lectures in the sciences than in philosophy, making him one of the most scientifically literate thinkers of his time. His theory of knowledge is a precursor to the scientific method, a bridge between philosophy and science. In war, truth is the first casualty. Aeschylus. After Napoleon's victory over the Allied forces in the Battle of Lutzen in May 1813, Schopenhauer and the inhabitants of Berlin expected the imminent siege of the city. Many of his fellow students and professors were preparing to defend Berlin, taking up arms to resist the French army. Schopenhauer fled Berlin in such haste that he didn't even bid farewell to his friends. In his private diary, he stated that he fled because he was haunted by the fear of being pressed into military service. Ironically, on his way to Dresden, he encountered precisely those he wished to avoid. He was forced to serve as an interpreter between the French army and the mayor of a small German town. After 12 days, he reached Dresden, but soon decided to continue to Weimar to visit his mother. Less than a month later, he traveled south to the small village of Rudolstadt, where he rented a room in a modest inn and devoted himself to writing his doctoral dissertation. In my secluded retreat in Rudolstadt, I was enchanted by the indescribable beauty of the surrounding landscape. It matched my nature and mood so perfectly that I felt truly at peace in the quiet hills encircling Jena, surrounded on all sides by forest mountains. No soldiers were to be seen, no drums could be heard, and I lay in the deepest solitude, free of distractions, undisturbed, immersed in the deepest and most remote problems and investigations. Schopenhauer completed his dissertation and, fearing that the war might claim his philosophical firstborn as a casualty, sent it to the University of Vienna instead of Berlin. On October 2nd, 1813, he received his doctoral degree with the distinction of magna cum laude. This masterpiece, originally titled in German Über die vielfache Wurzel des Satzes from zureichenden Gründe, on the fourfold root of the principle of sufficient reason, would serve as the foundation for all of his major works, referenced throughout his life as the essential groundwork for understanding of his philosophy. Nevertheless, its birth as a doctoral dissertation is only the beginning and one part of our story. Ladies and gentlemen, in our next episode, we will begin an in-depth exploration of Schopenhauer's theory of knowledge as outlined in his dissertation. For now, we invite you to revisit our previous 2 episodes, which lay the groundwork for our fascinating journey. Your support means a lot to us, so please check out the description box for ways to help us continue with this series. Until we meet again, sapere aude, have the courage to use your own reason.